liberals everywhere are no longer saying Skittles taste the rainbow. No, now they've come up with a new catchphrase. It's Skittles taste the bigotry, the racism, the xenophobia, the misogyny, the put in any claim you want. And the reason why they're advocating for this change is because Donald Trump Jr. used a bowl of Skittles to describe the refugee screening program. That's right. That's what it's all about. A bowl of Skittles, a bowl of candy. I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. No. Skittles. Skittles. And it's crazy because the big controversy is, oh, he didn't ask that artist for permission. Okay, he didn't ask the artist for permission, but please tell me that you've never, ever taken a picture off of the internet and retweeted it or Facebooked it or whatever without getting permission. It happens all the time. Is it right? No, but does it happen? Yes. And I'm just going to go on record right now and saying that this is the dumbest controversy I think I've ever seen. And you know, the same people who are all bent out of shape, all up in arms over a bowl of candy, are the same people who put down the people who were against the anthem kneeling and labeled those people as bigots or angry or too patriotic or whatever else they could come up with. It's the same people. It's the same group of people. And yeah, in the grand scheme of things, the whole anthem, sitting down, standing up thing, whatever, not a big deal, right, in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, it upsets some people, but, you know, oh well, it's life, you're going to get upset. But the Skittle thing, I mean, it's the same thing. It's in the same mold as the anthem, but, you know, that's the way it is in our politically correct culture, and that's the way that the liberal mind is. If you don't, and I'm somebody, I feel like I can see both sides of the picture, but that's one thing that drives me nuts about that point of view is you either agree with me 100% or you're a bigot, or you say the slightest wrong thing and I'm going to jump all down your back and I'm going to dig in the claws and I'm going to tear you down and we're going to boycott you or put you out of business or get you fired from your job or any other terrible thing that we can do for you or do against you. And it just drives me nuts. That's all right. You've got a place for serenity. You've got a place to calm your mind here on the River's Edge Radio Network because you are with Pittsburgh's moral compass, Brian Crawford, and I will set things right. Was it a dumb tweet? Yeah. Should he have tweeted it? No. Is it really that big of a deal? No. You're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network, Pittsburgh's voice for local music. We can be found on TuneIn Radio. You're probably watching us here at Facebook Live, and you can also listen to us 24 hours a day at riversedgepgh.com, powered by NJL WebTech, honest, practical, and affordable. Go to njlwebtech.com for all your web servicing needs. There are bigger issues to be outraged about. Oh my goodness, are there bigger issues to be outraged about? And yeah, the Skittle thing, it's a bad analogy, and apparently there was a similar analogy to mushrooms back in the Nazi days. I doubt that's where Donald Jr. was going with this. Of course, that's what everybody wants to point to. There's been so many stupid analogies, and this isn't the first time I've seen the Skittle analogy, by the way. It's been done before. But there's bigger things to be outraged about. Did you hear about the two assholes, the cretins, the monsters, who were wearing pro-Sandusky shirts, pro-Jerry Sandusky shirts at Joe Paterno Day? That's right, on one side of the shirt it said Joe Paterno was railroaded, on the other side it said Sandusky was innocent, putting football above kids. It's despicable. Those two people will be sitting in hell next to Jerry Sandusky rotting with him. If you want something to be offended by, there you go. How about the drinking water in Pennsylvania? Oh, you didn't hear about that, did you? You were too busy getting you're all up in arms, getting your underwear in a bunch over a bowl of candy. That's right, there's a study that shows that there's a cancer-causing chemical that's been found in the tap water of 200 million Americans. And guess what? It's here. We already have more lead than Flint, Michigan. Now we've got cancer-causing chemicals to boot. You would think, living in the United States of America, you could at the very least, have clean drinking water, for goodness sakes! But no, not here in America. No, we couldn't expect that, and we're not up in arms about that. We're not taking to social media about that. No, what's trending, number one on Facebook, is Donald Trump Jr. talking about a bowl of candy when we're drinking poison water! People are pissed about the Fraternal Order of Police endorsing Donald Trump. They've endorsed him on a national level, and they've endorsed him on a local level, and I can understand the anger there. See, to me, that is more of a reason to be pissed off than candy, a bowl of candy. If you don't like Donald Trump, yeah, that would piss you off. If you don't think that unions who their employees are funded through taxpayer money should be endorsing candidates, that should piss you off. It pisses me off. And I took to Facebook to get some thoughts on the situation. I think the most interesting thought... Chase says that he's not surprised. Police unions tend to be conservative and lean towards conservative politicians, and that seems to be the one union that the Republican Party seems to let go. And I think that's a fair point by Chase. We have some people who are applauding, some people who are opposed to the Trump endorsement. Pat Clunan, my friend from the Herald Standard, he had an interesting point. It wasn't so much an opinion as maybe an understanding as to why this endorsement came through. He said, consider this, if you will, the following. As mentioned, the National Fraternal Order of Police has endorsed Donald Trump, so it's no surprise that the Pittsburgh Fraternal Order of Police followed suit. But can we add that this comes after, number one, Hillary Clinton declining to even respond to the Fraternal Order of Police questionnaire, and number two, the Pittsburgh police chief, Cameron McMullen, spoke at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, and going off of that, number three, the Fraternal Order of Police in Pittsburgh had almost unanimously voted no confidence in that police chief. I think it was like 97%. Really, really dismal numbers for Chief McMullen. So it's no surprise that the local Fraternal Order of Police endorsed Donald Trump. Should they, though? And I think that's an interesting question. One interesting comment also I received on Facebook, somebody was talking about the makeup of the Fraternal Order of Police and how it is not just I believe this was Dan who said that, not just a union, a police union, but it's also a fraternity, and there are certain things that go into a fraternity where you don't want to throw somebody under the bus. And I know somebody who applied to be a Pittsburgh police officer, and that was one of the things that they struggled with. They said that they got the impression through their training that and he didn't take the job because of this, or didn't get selected because he refused to comply to this, that you kind of always have the back of the other officer, even if they're in the wrong, even in legal proceedings and things like that. And I think that's the kind of culture that has led to some of the police brutality issues that we're dealing with now, and some of these terrible situations that are occurring. And I think that's led to a distrust among police. And in some cases, I think that distrust is warranted. In other places, other times, I think it's blown out of proportion. But I can't blame anybody for jumping to outrage when you see some of the scenarios that we have seen. And everyone likes to talk about, when it comes to the black situation, the African American situation, and the deaths and that have occurred, and the perceived singling out and profiling that occurs in the United States, when you look at the numbers, people try to say, oh, well, and it's factually true, more white people are killed by police officers in the United States. However, if you look beyond face value at the statistics and you dive in, according to the Washington Post, a black person is twice as likely to be killed by a black police officer. How is that, do you ask? How is it possible that more white people are killed, a lot more white people are killed than black people by police officers, yet a black person is twice as likely to be killed by a police officer? You're saying those numbers don't add up, Brian. They do add up, though, because look at the population. The population of white people in the United States is so much greater than the population of black people. They are a minority. And maybe if you live in the city, you don't see that as much because we're a little bit more diverse. As far as black-white, there's a lot to be said about our diversity amongst other nationalities here in Pittsburgh. But black-white, there is a sense of diversity. It's not even, but it's much closer than it is, say, in the suburbs. I grew up in Westmoreland County, and I think we had one, maybe two black families in the school district. So it's not very diverse there. So, yeah, if you live in the city, it's easy to say that it seems like it's more diverse, but it's not. The amount of white people in this country is greatly, the number is greatly larger than that of black people. So it's a real issue. It is a real issue, and I can understand some of the outrage and some of this there are some black officers who have come out against the Fraternal Order of Police's endorsement of Donald Trump. But if Hillary Clinton isn't even going to respond to the survey at all, they don't have anything to go on with her according to their criteria. And I'm going to release an interview I did last year, right around election time, dealing with the Fraternal Order of Police president in Greensburg and a discussion we had about the rescinding of an endorsement. And it's an interesting interview. I'm not going to play it during today's show. At least I don't think I am. I'm going to post it on the Facebook page after today's show. I'm going to look it up. It's on SoundCloud. It was before we did all this fancy video stuff. But I'm going to show you that interview. I'm going to post it, and you could get kind of an inside look at what the Fraternal Order of Police is looking at when they endorse a candidate and how that process goes. It's really interesting. It was a really interesting interview, so I'm excited to get that out there for you. It was interesting. It was really cool, and that interview actually had to do with the Fraternal Order of Police rescinding an endorsement for a judicial candidate who was a Democrat out in Westmoreland County. And I look at some of the things that comes across the Trump campaign and some of the things that have been said through the primary, and I look back to this interview in Greensburg, and I almost wonder, how are they endorsing Donald Trump? How are they endorsing this man? And is there any chance that this endorsement will be rescinded? I don't think there will be, especially given Hillary's connection to Black Lives Matter. And you have to understand, it's easy to put down the police in this situation, but this issue is more complicated than good and bad, yes and no, and that's what everyone likes to do. They like to group things into these small little bubbles. It's bigger than that, right? Much bigger than that. So, on the police's side, obviously we have the Black Lives Matter side, and we understand that there are people who are dying. It's a serious issue. Twice as many black people are dying over white people in this country. Those are the facts. That's the statistics. You cannot refute that. And yeah, you could say more white people died, but again, you're looking at numbers at face value. You're not really digging into the actual statistics and the actual information that's out there, the actual study. So you understand the black African American, the group that's upset with Black Lives Matter. You understand their grievance. On the other side of the issue, the police. Now you've got, in Dallas, a sniper who went out and assassinated police officers. Last year, there was an officer who was assassinated in New York City. So the police have a very difficult situation. I got Mike McMullen on. Let's bring him on, and we're going to talk more about this. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great. So we're talking about the Fraternal Order of Police's endorsement of presidential candidate Donald Trump, and there are people who are upset about this, and I can understand their position, Mike, to be quite honest. I don't necessarily feel comfortable with a union that in which their members are paid through public dollars endorsing any particular candidate.
Well, Brian, great point. Look, at the end of the day, do endorsements mean much? Yes and no. I mean, we could do a whole show on this, but to put it in a nutshell, it's like, look, whether it be public sector, look, any endorsement, ultimately the endorsement that matters is the people who vote. That is, I mean, whether it be a labor union, whether it be local 101 or local 3, the iron workers, or the F.O.P. I just saw as well the F.O.P. in Philly, endorsed Trump as well. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, rank and file workers need to exercise the right to vote, whether it be, for Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, Hillary, or Trump. Look, whether endorsements don't matter. I mean, ultimately, people say, "Oh, I need to get the Post-Gazette endorsement." Well, honestly, that's like the kiss of death sometimes. People need to exercise the right to vote, and and I can tell you, if I was a member of a certain organization or whatever, I mean, I may listen to them. I'm a member of many organizations like you are and like everybody is.
Sure.
And if they say, hey, vote for Donald Trump or this or that, I mean, I may listen to them to a certain degree, but I'm going to be the educated one and do my research on the candidates. And this is what everybody needs to do, whether you're running for, your local state representative is up or state senator. You need to take ownership and do your due diligence as a voter. Educate yourself on the issues, on the people running, and make an educated decision. Just not vote straight party line. Oh, my union says to vote for Hillary over Trump because my union told me to. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, it looks like reading some of the commentary or some of the quotes from the officers. Here's one from a gentleman. He says that Trump not only answered the questionnaire, but he spent a few hours to meet with the National Board President of the Fraternal Order of Police. As you know, Hillary Clinton did not entertain the questionnaire at all. So to me, it's no surprise. People who are outraged over this endorsement, I don't understand what they were expecting if one candidate won't even take the time to fill out a survey and the other candidate is showing up and spending hours talking with the national board. To me, it's just it just makes sense that they're going to pick that guy, whether you like the candidate or not. Personally, I don't think anybody should be endorsed from a union that represents public employees. But what are they going to do? I mean, they're going to endorse the person that's not even going to give them an ear.
Well, Brian, I'm not going to pick on a state representative, but you're familiar with him. State Representative Rick Saccone from down in the South Hills of Pittsburgh. It represents a little part of Westmoreland County, Washington County, and so forth. He refuses, for whatever reason, to go before the Post-Gazette editorial board. And the Post-Gazette just rips him a new one every single 2 years that he's running. But the thing is, he's won the last 3 election cycles. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, here again, you have a member of the State House, a very conservative member, who just won't go before the Post-Gazette editorial board. And people say, oh, is it a right or a passage or, a homage to, you don't have to go before an editorial board. I mean, you just don't have to. And he wins every 2 years. So, I'm not picking on Rick at all. I mean, Rick has his own reasons and rationale for doing that. But that's just one example. And there are many people, I mean, who've run. I've run before. And there's just certain questionnaires, I'm not going to mention organizations, but just think of very left-wing organizations that it's not even worth sitting down and filling out the questionnaires, because when you fill it out, your answers are going to be center-right, and they're looking for center-left positions, and it's not even worth the time. So each race is different, each questionnaire is different, but the one thing is that I'm not putting one union over the other, but you always want to answer the F.O.P. questionnaires. That is one that you definitely don't want to, irk off. But look, ultimately, as I said before, voters need to do the due diligence, get out and vote. But educate yourself and don't listen to your union or any organization that you belong to. If anything, if my union or organization told me to vote this way, I'm going to vote the other way.
Yeah, I just don't understand. I don't understand it, to be quite honest. It just I don't understand the outrage. Are you a fan of Skittles, Mike?
I mean, I try not to eat sugary products, so I mean, it really has no effect or phase on me, quite frankly.
Are you outraged by the bowl of candy that Donald Trump Jr. posted on Twitter?
No, I mean, look, I mean, it's when you only have 140 characters on Twitter to post and so forth, and certain sayings. You know, I mean, he could have posted a picture of their jet, Skittles, their homes or the golf courses. Look, it's a moot point. I mean, it's trying to create buzz and trying to create activity.
I just
and so
think
forth.
People are looking to be angry. People are looking to be pissed off. That's the new American pastime. Baseball's gone now. Football is going into the background. It's getting pissed off and being outraged. That's like the new American thing. That's what we really rally behind, isn't it?
Well, look, it's depending on the issue, day to day. I mean, if people want to post something, if they want to post a picture of the backyard unmowed, or a picture of Skittles, or Mar-a-Lago, or one of Trump's planes, or just for that matter, a picture of the sky. It doesn't matter. I mean, look, you have your exercise and First Amendment right to post just about whatever you want within reason. As long as it's not, as long as it's not damning or defamation or anything like that nature. But let's focus and move on. I mean, if people are wound up about, him posting about something on Skittles or on Twitter, I mean, move on. Let's focus to the issues at hand.
So, what are the issues at hand, Mike? What's going on in the world of politics right now?
Well, let's face it. We've got the first debate coming up Monday night. It's going to be, well, I mean, Rose Tennant is having a debate watch party down in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, down in Cannonsburg. There's going to be fireworks. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how the lay of the land is laid out and the issues at hand. And like I said, I mean, it's Trump was in town yesterday speaking at the Marcellus Shale, convention or seminar, and he had a big fundraiser in Pittsburgh as well yesterday. So, look, they're on the ground here in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is still a battleground state, even though the Muhlenberg poll a couple of days ago had Hillary up 8 points around the state. And the thing is, I mean, Trump is doing well in the west and the central part of the state and northwest and northeastern part of the state, but he's getting killed in the southeastern part of the state. And anybody knows Pennsylvania politics, about 45% of the vote is in the southeastern part of the state. The big five: Bucks, Delco, Monto, Chester, Delaware, and Philadelphia County. That's where 45% of the vote is. And here again, if you look historically back at 2012, Obama won, I think, what was it, 7, 8, 9 counties, and he still won Pennsylvania. So it's a very fluid race, Brian. McGinty, Toomey, Senate race as well. McGinty's up still, 2 to 4 points. I mean, it's the guy, UVA, Larry Sabato, had it lean Democrat or likely Democrat. Now it's back to lean Democrat. So a lot of the top pollsters and political gurus and commentators, they're saying, put this one in for McGinty. But look, we still have essentially, about 45 days till general election. People need to start waking up. I mean, people, need to start, turning off the TV and educating themselves on the issues.
Who is up in the polls? Is it Clinton or is it Trump? I keep hearing different stories from different people.
Brian, I mean, it's, the one poll that I really look at is RCP, real clear politics. And depending on the state, I mean, I wouldn't say it changes hourly, but it's depending on the state, depending on the time of day over the weekend, somebody will get a bounce after, a certain speech or so forth. But Clinton is up, and ultimately, you've got these third-party candidates, Joe Stein and Gary Johnson. Even though Gary Johnson had that big snafu, about a week or 10 days ago, ultimately, those third-party candidates, if you're looking at marginal states, let's face it, it's going to be down to 7 to 10 states, and this is no order: New Hampshire, Virginia, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Iowa, New Mexico, Colorado, and even Arizona. You can't put in the R column, and New Mexico. Those 7 to 10 states are going to decide it. Now, if Trump flips, let's face it, we as Republicans, we've lost Ohio and Florida. We flipped those 2 states, and we could lose like a New Mexico or Colorado, but we win at Ohio. Remember, the magic number is 270. But ultimately, to get back to your question, the polls are tightening. You could look at CNN, you could look at Real Clear Politics, you could look at Zogby. It's a very tight race. It's a very fluid race.
All right, sounds good, Mike. Thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you next week.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good weekend.
Yep, that's Mike McMullen. I'm Brian Crawford. Up next, I have a very interesting story. It's an original story, a piece of fiction I wrote that is, I think it will reach out to you. I think you'll understand it. I think it will touch you. I know it means a lot to me because of a situation I just dealt with. And so we're going to get into that story, and then we're going to talk about how I was victimized by the city of Pittsburgh and by their parking authority. So we've got that up next. You're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network.
Hey, this is Mike Sasson. If you've been searching for something to do with your pathetic life, guess what? This ain't it. But it'll kill about an hour. It's the Mike Sasson Show, starting 10 a.m. on July 19th, going to 11. It's going to be a lot of fun here on the River's Edge, a new kind of radio.
Story time on the River's Edge. It was a cool September night in the Steel City, and I had just witnessed the conclusion of a Slim Forsyth performance at Need's Hotel. I enjoyed one last beverage for the evening as the crowd was scurrying out. And as things quieted down, I slouched in my bar stool. I paid my tab, and I made my exit. It was a quiet night on the mean streets of Lawrenceville, and an eerie fog stretched across the pavement. The full moon hung in a sky lit up by stars. The fog was so thick, it was encompassing, and it was so thick you could practically drink it. Having parked around back, I rounded the corner, and I made my way towards my car. And I paused. I felt uneasy. I had a feeling like I was being followed. With a deep breath, I slowly turned around, and to my relief, there was nothing there. Nothing at all. Every hair on my body stood up. Something just seemed off. I picked up my pace. I reached the car quickly. I didn't know if I was just paranoid or if I was extremely, extremely drunk. And in my uncertain frame of mind, I decided it was probably better to walk than to drive. So I decided to walk. And as I was about to depart, I saw a flash of pink in my windshield, and to my complete dismay, it was a parking ticket. I angrily ripped open my wallet to throw the ticket inside, and while pulling the wallet out, my fingers ran across 2 strange bumps on the wallet. And I, of course, examined the wallet, and I found 2 strange holes punctured through the wallet. I pulled out my cash to count it, and I seemed to be short. I was missing money. It made no sense. I had no idea how I could have been missing money, but, it was after 2 in the morning. I needed to get out of here. I had to walk home. I had to make it home at some point, right? So I started walking off, despite losing the money. And as I moved, I continued to feel uneasy. Paranoia took me over. Chills ran down my spine. I approached the 40th Street Bridge. I was really, really hoofing it. And I approached 40th Street, and I needed to cross Butler Street so I could make it to the 40th Street Bridge. And I stopped. I stopped at the side of the street for the crossing light because I am somebody who has respect for the law, and I decided to stop and wait for the light. And while I was standing there waiting, I heard this sucking noise. A weird sucking noise. I looked over my shoulder, and to my dismay, I saw this grotesque creature. This grotesque creature standing behind me, kneeling behind me on the ground, and it was sucking my ass. What the hell? I kicked back, I stumbled forward, and I looked around to stare this creature down. This creature had the most grotesque face. It was like a bat face with fangs out of its mouth. And I could see, like lettuce between teeth, my money in this creature's mouth. And I had to have, the holes in my wallet had to have been sucking the money right out of my wallet. Just sucking. It was bizarre. All of my hard-earned money in this creature's mouth. And after a moment, paralyzed by this shocking view, the features of this creature were just so shocking. After a moment, I realized that it was wearing a specific uniform. It was wearing the uniform of a parking enforcement officer. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. And then I saw what I hoped was a glimmer of hope. A cyclist riding down the street. I shouted for assistance. Help, please, over here. And the cyclist just pointed and began cackling. And then it proceeded to run a red light, breaking the law and riding out of sight. I clenched my fist in rage and muttered softly, "Bicyclers of Pittsburgh." And after that, the creature, the human wallet vampire hybrid creature, pounced on me, knocking me into a painful unconsciousness. I woke up the next day to a bright light because it was morning, and I realized I was left without 1 cent to my name. That is story time here on the River's Edge. It's based off of a true story. I did get this parking ticket, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of pissed. And if you want more great stories like this, you have to meet me September 30th at the Double L Bar, part of Pod Crawl. It starts at 6 p.m. with Mike Sass and ends late into the evening with the Jagoff podcast. It's 4 networks: the River's Edge, the Pittsburgh Podcast Network, Sorgatron Media, and the Epicast Network. Crawling through Millville, some of the best bars in the city, some of the best podcasts in the city. But this is based off of somewhat of a true story. I was a victim of poor signage. $30 because I parked where apparently they were cleaning the street. And I'm on Carnegie Street behind Needs Hotel. It was actually in the daytime. It was my evening because I work overnight, but it was in the daytime. And I left the 100th show, and I'm having a good time. You know, Slim Forsyth gave me this awesome pen, which you can use to write on your phone. Really kind of cool. I was like all in a good mood, great music, good times. We talked about good things that are happening in the music community, and I'm ready to go home. And I find that my car was ticketed. And why, do you ask, was my car ticketed? It was ticketed because of this cleaning situation. And okay, anybody who knows me, and you can ask Randy from the Culture Cruise, he will back me up on this. I am the cheapest parker in the city. I will not spend $5 to park in a garage in the South Side. I'd rather drive around for an hour and find somewhere free because I'd rather waste my gas money than give it to those bastards in City Hall. I shouldn't say bastards in City Hall because there's some good people that work there, but you know what I mean. Parking's one thing I'm not willing to pay for. I'm just not. I'm willing to pay more in taxes before I'm willing to pay more in parking fees. I'd rather pay more in my occupation tax and have cheaper parking or free parking in the city than deal with a $30 parking garage fee or anything else. It's just not me. So I'm one who pays attention to signs. I'm one who pays attention to things like that because I'm just unwilling to pay. I just won't do it. So this is what happens. I park there. I scan the area. I look for signs. I don't see any signs. I get there. I see this ticket, so I look. There's one sign at the very, very end of the road, nowhere near where I'm parking. On the other side of the road, they've got signs galore going the whole way up and down that side of the street. So I am contesting the ticket. I am fighting the power. Because I'm sorry, if you're gonna start citing people and issuing tickets out, then you have to have the place properly signed. I think that's a fair thing to ask. And it's one thing like Millville. It was funny. I was listening to Mike's show from Tuesday, and I guess he got ticketed here in Millville. The biggest difference: his ticket was $5, mine was $30, and he had a meter there. I didn't even have a sign. There was no permit parking. It wasn't permit parking. There was no signs about the cleaning, not where I was parked. I am a victim, and I will fight this till the end. I've already contacted the mayor's office. We will get to the bottom of this. But it was a great time at the 100th. And speaking of streets and speaking of bad street decisions, I love Millville. This is my home. This is my town. We're based out of here. But they got these stupid, cornstalk things on all of the street lights. Why are we celebrating the demise of the greatest season of the year, the only season that matters, the only season that counts? I cry a little around fall because I know that winter is coming, the most depressing time of the year. Winter, the home of maybe the worst holiday of the year, Christmas, which brings out the worst in people. I do love Halloween. I do love fall beers, but except for I'm sick of the pumpkin. Just get rid of the pumpkin. I love the fall beers. However, I can't, none of that, all of that together, the pumpkin beer, no, not the pumpkin beers, the Oktoberfest beers, the Oktoberfest parties, which are fantastic, the Halloween, all of the dressing up, all of that stuff, it's all good. International Podcast Day, which is coming up September 30th, International Podcast Day, pod crawl all throughout Millville, come check it out. All of that stuff combined doesn't make me okay with fall, because I know winter comes after it, and nothing is worse than winter. Nothing is worse than winter. It's awful. It's a miserable time. It's cold. It's dark. It's dreary. It's unhappy. It's sad. It's depressing. All of that. It's awful. Just no. No winter. Please. Can we just, skip? I just want to hibernate like a bear and skip forward to summer. There's a new traffic law that's going into effect. Governor Wolf just signed it, and this is according to ABC WNEP out of Harrisburg, and they say a new law allowing drivers to go through red lights under certain conditions went into effect in Pennsylvania on Sunday. And read up on this in case somebody isn't informed yet and they try to cite you. Governor Wolf signed this bill into law in July. It took effect September 18th. The new rule allows drivers to go through a red light when the sensor appears to be malfunctioning, such as if it is blinking or if the light sensor appears to not be working, keeping the light from turning green. The law was originally intended to help motorcyclists, but it was expanded to apply to all vehicles, which is good because you need to apply the law equitably. And I have nothing against motorcycle drivers. Great people. I know a lot of people I'm very good friends with who drive motorcycles. It's awesome, and I love what the state does with the Live Free, Ride Alive. And that's one of the cool things. The state does that. The state always issues off these programs, which are so lame, and they try to be cool, and They never are, but the Live Free Ride Alive program always comes across as cool to me, so I love that program. But anyways, it allows people to drive through these lights, and it is now applied to everyone. The article continues saying that some traffic lights use sensors that are under the pavement, so when a car comes up, it triggers the sensor. The problem with motorcycles is that it sometimes does not trigger the sensor, and the light never turns green. And one quote here from a gentleman named Ken Gaudio, I think that's how you say his name, of Waymart. He says, you'll sit at the light and wait and wait and wait and nothing happens. You're sitting there for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and it's not changing, so you know something's wrong. That's the sensor in the road not picking up the weight of the bike. So, I don't know. I like this bill, but I could just easily see people running lights using this bill as an excuse, because I feel like it's a hard thing to enforce, because it's very subjective unless an officer has some sort of way to time how long you're waiting at the light. But even then, as a driver, I could just say, well, I thought I was waiting 3 minutes. It just seems like it would be a hard rule to enforce as far as people running the light when they shouldn't. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this law. I'm more interested, to be quite honest, in this cancer-causing tap water. Unbelievable. This is from KDKA Pittsburgh. It says a new report indicates that the levels of chromium 6 are above 0.03 parts per billion in 75% of water sampled from water utilities, according to the EPA, in between 2013 and 2015. And they say it's here in western Pennsylvania as well. And I really want to hear your thoughts on this at 412-407-2PGH or on Twitter at RiverTalkPGH. And there's a list of towns that are affected. It says Ambridge. Here's the different water authorities: Ambridge, Beaver, Buffalo Center, Charleroi, Cranberry, Cresswell, Fox Chapel, Freeport, Hampton, Harrison, High Ridge, Katanning, Latrobe, Monroeville, Moon, Morgantown, New Ken, North Fayette, and Oakmont. And there's some other municipal water authorities as well. Pittsburgh, Uniontown, Butler, lots of big ones out in Westmoreland County. It's all over. It's all over. McKeesport, Westview, West Allegheny, Robinson, Plum. It's like the water. There's like no safe water in western Pennsylvania. It's frightening. That's terrifying. As I said earlier, you would think in the United States of America you could at least count on the drinking water. That's why I only drink bottled water. Oh, I just spilled it all over my electronics. That's great. I only drink bottled water because of that. And people always like to mock the people drinking bottled water, but after the lead scare, after this, how could you not? How could you feel safe drinking tap water? I don't. It's crazy. Everyone always talks about our infrastructure being so good in Pittsburgh. Well, you hear people talk about that with the water and the gas and things like that, but I don't see it. And, you know, we waste so much money on crap in this state and in this country when really we should be investing the money in roads and in things like safe drinking water. Safe drinking water. A basic necessity for life. But according to the CEO of Nestle, we shouldn't be guaranteed clean drinking water anyways. He thinks that is something that people should just have to buy. He's another corporate douchebag. Woo! Sorry I skipped Wednesday. I know you you were looking forward to that. Just really, really tired. It always comes back to energy and being tired and working around the clock. And it's definitely rough. And I got a lot of sleep yesterday, but I slept early, so then I was up. And I've been up. And I'll be up longer. I've got to go back out to the bank, get things done. Does anybody out there work overnight? I've asked this question, and nobody seems to have an answer. on how you do it. And I mean, I've survived, but running a business on the side here, which actually takes up more of my time, and then going back to work on top of everything else, it's just crazy. I don't know what the answer is. I don't. I'm interested to hear what you have to think, because there's got to be an answer out there somewhere. Has to be one out there somewhere. I know it. There has to be. I'm going to play a couple songs for you, and then I'm going to wrap up with the holiday of the day. I'm going to try and get some pump, some energy back into my step so I can close this program out, because I am crashing hardcore. All of a sudden, it's just like in the last few minutes, sleep or lack of sleep deprivation has just descended and ripped its claws into me, and it's sucking the life force out of me, just as that meter person sucked the money right out of my wallet. I've only gotten 3 tickets since moving to Pittsburgh, and one of them was definitely legitimate. One of them I had a court thing I had to go to for something else, and I parked, nothing major, like just some like traffic issue, and I parked in front of not a handicap, in front of a fire hydrant, and I definitely deserved a ticket. It was definitely my fault, and I did it because I couldn't find anywhere else to park, and if I didn't park there, I was going to be sentenced to a guilty verdict in this small traffic citation. But in the city of Pittsburgh, anytime you get a small traffic citation, they throw on reckless driving, and if you get that, you lose your license, so you have to go fight it. And I, of course, got some sort of a deal. I could have probably fought and won, but I was a delivery driver at the time. I didn't want to take the chance, so I parked in front of a fire hydrant, and I definitely deserved the ticket I got. The other 2 times were poor signage issues. And again, I hate paying for parking. So if anybody's going to be avoiding a fee, it's me. We're up with your something to celebrate. Up next here on the River's Edge.
Hi, I'm Mike Storer, host of the Awesome Cast, which you can hear right here on River's Edge Radio. We're talking tech, getting geeky every week with people from Pittsburgh in the industry. Go check us out, awesomecast.net, or listen to us right here on River's Edge Radio, Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. after Funny Money.
So apparently today is actually Native American Day, and many of you do not know this, but I am part Native American, so I feel like this is really a day about me. A day to celebrate me and all of the great things that I do in the world, all of the great things that I do for you, my loving fans, because I care so much. And I care so much that I am offering you a chance to see me live, and I've assembled some of the best podcasts in the city of Pittsburgh at some of the best bars in Millvale. So you have to come out September 30th for Pod Crawl and show how much you support Native Americans like me. Part Native Americans, I should say. Pod Crawl, September 30th, 6 p.m. Seriously, though, it is National Native American Day, and I do think that it is important to recognize that day, especially in today's culture where we have a situation where we have a pipeline that is trying to be dug out through Native American land, and they've requested that that does not occur, and I have to wonder, how much more do these people have to put up with, right? I mean, we've taken all of their land, we've huddled them up into small regional territories, and now we want to dig it back up again and take the little bit of land that we did actually set aside for them. Do you see these eyes? They're like freaking red. I'm looking at myself through the camera, and they're like around the eyes, not the eyes themselves, but around the eyes. It's like beet red from lack of sleep. So I'm gonna go to sleep. I gotta get to sleep. So come see me when I'm wide awake, because I'll have just woken up for Pod Crawl, September 30th. 6 p.m. Cousins. We're going to be at the Double L, Smokey's Tavern. Grist House, and all the way up on Sidelines. Great wings there, great beer everywhere, fantastic stuff. Cousins, home of the best ceiling in Millville. Double L with great Narcisi wine, great selection. Grist House with amazing beer. Smokies, awesome food as well. Great beer, great location, awesome stuff. You cannot miss it. Don't forget, all weekend, 24 hours, the best music in Pittsburgh right here at riversedgepgh.com. I am Brian Crawford, and I will see you Monday, and 1 week from today, I will see you in the evening at the Double L Bar for the first official pod crawl here in Pittsburgh. Don't forget, check it out, pod crawl. All the information is right there. I don't even know how to do that. Right there, exactly. Pod crawl, September 30th. I'm going to be broadcasting everything at riversedgepgh.com. That's it. I'll catch you then, and I'll catch you Monday right here at riversedgepgh.com.